Welcome to this webinar on reimagining digital experiences with Guidewire portal. And this is part of the Insights to Solutions series. It's a unique opportunity for you to explore solutions that could help accelerate the digital transformation of the insurance industry. And I hope that you really enjoy today's event that's sponsored and hosted by Hexaware. Hexaware is a global IT provider with more than 20,000 people around the world and has been in business for more than 30 years. I am Hugh Terry from the Digital Insurer, and we're partnered on this solution and series with Strategy Meets Action. And I will hand over to Karen Furtado, a partner at SMA, who will share her perspectives and insights shortly with you. Now, moving on to the agenda, these Insights to Solutions Spotlight virtual events are designed to allow you to get a deep dive on a particular solution area, as well as an overview of key insights. So today's event will be led by Karen, who will give those insights, and then we'll move into a focused 40-minute panel session. As you can see, there'll be speakers from Guidewire, from Hexaware, and also from one of their customers. Karen and I will then wrap up at the end. The total session will last for 60 minutes. Now, from a housekeeping perspective, to help to get the most out of the event today, I just want to take you through a few areas. So first of all, this is designed as a participative event. So please do give us your questions in the Q&A area, and you'll see the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to comment, say hello, please just do so in the chat area. We will also be running a poll during the event, and you'll see that poll pop up as a separate window in your system, and please do respond that. And then from an experience perspective, the default mode is you'll see the slides and you'll see the speaker on the top right-hand side. If you want to see the speaker only, you can switch it, or if you'd like to see the slides only, you can do that as well. And then from a post-event perspective, we will be following up by the middle of next week with the recordings and with the slides as well for you. And there's also, you'll see later, a virtual booth that's been done for Hexaware. We'll share that with you and the link as well. So let's get on, and it's a great pleasure really to hand over to Karen from SMA.
Hi, Hugh. Thank you so much, and good day, everyone. Thrilled to have you join us today. Today's Insight to Solutions Spotlight is going to focus on the reimagining digital experiences with Guidewire Digital. Today's webinar will explore the digital challenges insurers face and the need to transform and how they're enabled to really bring to life their digital interactions. We'll feature new digital capabilities brought to market by Guidewire, Admiral Insurance recent implementation, and Hexaware's approach on how to help and ensure their clients are moving forward with the digital experience. Now for a few insights that will set the stage. We talk about digital acceleration, and it is a key priority on many insurers' roadmaps as we enter January 2020. At SMA, we are a research firm, and we were keeping a pulse on the key initiatives that insurers had on their plate coming into the year. And resoundingly, 100% of insurers saw themselves as digital insurers and needing to really accelerate where their roadmap stood. And it's a pretty amazing number, quite frankly. You know, and the reality of this paradigm shift really involves a shift for insurers to think about and reimagine the people, the process, and the technology involved. All will go through a transformation initiative to come out the other side to truly create a digital business. Then, based on that pace, we think to March 2020, the COVID times. We did a market pulse survey at SMA where we really try and keep a pulse of how insurers are perceiving this pandemic. What is the impact in the operation? We know there's external data points we can look at to understand what the transformation is. McKinsey came out with a study in April that stated that consumers were expecting now digital needs to be met, which were existing or thought to be existing 5 years from now. Microsoft as well came out with a similar study on how businesses have adapted to this new norm. And there's been an acceleration of 2 years on companies' roadmaps of moving forward in a digital initiative. So what did we find when we did our Market Pulse survey in April? Go back one slide. We did find that insurers were considering, we saw them in 5 areas, whether they were retrenching, meaning cutting. You know, the reaction was to cut budget right now in digital transformation. Or were they pausing? Were they not making any change? Were they reshaping? And were they accelerating? You can see personal lines resoundingly is in a much different place than commercial lines. That in personal lines, we saw real shifts. I mean, 38% were steady as you go. They were really looking to enact the plans they had in place. But 57% of the participants were reshaping and accelerating their plans. When we looked at commercial lines, you can see it's a much different story. And for you out there, probably have experienced similar, where some of your businesses that you were insuring maybe were significantly impacted by the lockdowns. They were unable to continue to perform. If you were insuring liquor liability, you know, there was no liquor liability, though bars were open. So it had a rippling effect, almost to the point that some commercial lines have really pulled back. We're going to pause and we have to rethink, versus almost in the bell curve. We see here 34% though are saying, oh my gosh, we have got to push forward, we have to reshape, and we have to accelerate. So what I'd like to just explore now is, when we talk about that digital readiness, what does this look like when we think of this roadmap? At SMA, we think about it in 2 paradigms. On the left side, you'll see the customer experience. On the bottom, the horizontal axis, you'll see operational experience. Clearly, there is an interaction, both from what I would say to be that outside-in perspective, your policyholders, your claimants, etc., and the inside-out experience, which would be all of your internal workers. All are involved in this transformation. When we look at those that are in what we'd call that baseline area, the digital assets, this is where you're really just pushing assets out. It's a really one-way type of interaction. You know, you've made a deck available, a bill available, etc. For many, that's the start of their journey, but there is so much more to be gained as we look to more further advance the digital initiatives and we start to look at the experience. Now we're considering a completely different expectation. From an outside-in perspective, you've probably all started to do some journey mapping to try and get closer to understand what that consumer, policyholder, claimant wants to have for an experience. You as well are probably looking at a lot of transformational technologies that will help enable that. CRM, future-focused core systems, document management, just to name a few. Those will start to yield some transformational experiences when you think of the digital experience. But they just lay the foundation for how you will rethink that digital interaction. The last is clearly transformation. This is where you really are reimagining, taking a new lens. It's not just how do I support a transaction, it's how do I support an interaction. I'm becoming much more collaborative. I'm highly tailored to the customer experience. I'm actually highly tailored to what my internal claimants are really needing, my internal employees. We're providing interactions in multiple different modalities. We require an agile user experience that can quickly and easily be tailored. We require core systems that can support new products that we want to spin out and roll up. And certainly in this time period we're in right now, we are seeing a lot of these interactions. We are seeing new products brought to market. Telematics is going to be a boom right now as we really explore usage-based insurance. All require both the fundamental capabilities of envisioning new digital user interactions supported by a solid digitally based core system. So today's discussion is going to explore how companies have achieved that. We have a fabulous group of panelists that are joining us today. On the next slide, you'll see we have Vijay Raghavan, Head of Digital Applications Europe for Hexaware, Madhur Varami, who's Guidewire Solution Head at Hexaware, Kevin Foley, IT Delivery Operations Manager at Admiral Insurance, and Dmitry Remenyuk, who's Director, Global Center for Digital Innovation at Guidewire. At this point, I'll turn the program over to Vijay. Vijay, all yours.
Thanks, Karen. Customer-centric business models are shaping how insurance companies design products, sell, and service their customers. Technology is at the center of the digital revolution and adoption of digital channels. And business paradigms, these are often interchangeably used with setting up a technology backbone to support demanding customers and competitive environments. The success in the market for insurers, like other businesses being disrupted, will be determined by the speed at which insurers adopt these digital channels to support their businesses. So I'm going to bring in our panel now. And just before that, I just want to let in a quick reminder that if you have any questions to ask of us, head down to the Q&A section, fire your questions away, and then we'll address those and pick them up for discussion. Guidewire software has been at the forefront of delivering digital applications that help insurers drive compelling user journeys across marketing, sales, services, and claims. And I have here with me Dmitry Remenyuk, who's been at the forefront of creating and delivering these products and experiences for Guidewire customers. There have been recent updates and some exciting product launches by Guidewire in the weeks leading up to today. So let's start with you, Dmitry. How is Guidewire going about enabling insurers transforming digitally?
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. Yes, we live in a strange and nevertheless interesting time. Looking on my picture on previous slide, I can barely recognize myself, pre and post lockdown or mid lockdown. But that's definitely me. So thank you for introduction. Thank you, Karen, as well, and for inviting me to be part of this panel. To your question, and before answering it, I'd like to mention first our overall vision in this area. From the very beginning, when we have launched the first version of digital products about 7 years ago, our main goal was to deliver compelling omnichannel experiences for policyholders, insurance professionals, critical stakeholders across the insurance value chain. And of course, to be able to update and evolve those capabilities to support new products and experiences. This goal remains the same for us in future as well. Even more, we see it now not as a separate, but as one of the main integral components of our Guidewire insurance platform, especially if we are talking about Guidewire Cloud Platform. And what we have realized based on our experience from more than 150 of digital customers worldwide and implementation experience, we realized that what can really help here to speed up the implementation, to help insurance to adopt digital channels much faster and reduce overall efforts, are some tools which can automate it, at least partially. For example, by generating the code, both on the back and front end side, and in the same time, still giving our customers and partners full freedom to adjust it to meet their own requirements regarding functionality and design. How to achieve it? Let's see it on the next slide. Our answer is, it is possible only by providing a robust front-end experience framework that empowers not only developers, but designers as well. With our recent Aspen release, Digital 11.1, it was the very first milestone in providing this. Utro is the name of our new front-end experience framework, which provides not only component libraries and a lot of pre-built functionalities and services, but also design best practices and tools. And this framework is our main priority for the future as well. What does it bring and why it is so important? Next slide, please. In our opinion, only having such framework, we can not only provide modern digital experience, yes, but also achieve our goals to create tools to automatically generate APIs and digital journeys, and so allowing our customers and partners to benefit from the low-code approach. It is so-called APD, Advanced Product Designer functionality in Guidewire, which is right now available for the quotation lifecycle for policyholders and going to be extended in future releases to other areas of policy and claims transactions. Only having such framework, we can reduce time and cost for both the initial implementation and the coming updates and upgrades too. So it will make it smooth and easy for our customers and allows them to go to the market much faster. And of course, last but not least, this framework will also ease the migration to the cloud for those customers who decides to do so. So that's very briefly it, and I hope it gives you at least rough overview and answer your question, Vijay.
Yes, it does. Really interesting, exciting, and something for everyone to look forward to. See, however, most of this is what's available today, right? And what will be equally interesting, especially as someone who's been associated with Jutro and its evolution, I think what will be super interesting for the listeners is to hear a bit more about the roadmap. What's the product roadmap like? What are some of the cool and interesting features on the anvil for Guidewire Digital? Can you shed some light on that, please?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's the one. So we are committed to deliver continuous value for our customers. You know that we are changing now to the 6 months cadence for our releases. And it is not only for the digital, but also for our core and data products. The digital release, as I mentioned, 11.1, with a code name Aspen, was delivered this May. The next one, Banff, in November, and so on. So regarding the content of those drops, first of all, I'd like to mention our standard disclaimer in this area that this information is subject to change. But in a nutshell, they have two main development areas: digital framework and digital applications. Where the latter will also differentiate with the time what is available on cloud versus self-managed. Well, I have already mentioned the digital framework based on Jutro, which allows us drastically increase the speed of prototype and implementation. And of course, APD, Advanced Product Designer, code generation is good, but you cannot generate absolutely everything. You still need to have skeleton, reference implementation of the apps and journeys in the background. Those skeletons, reference implementations, are our digital applications: customer engage, producer engage, service rep engage, vendor engage. Those applications, they're specifically built for the corresponding target personas. And that's the main current priority for us right now, to modernize them all to leverage the full power of Jutro, best practices guidelines, and ease of development. They have started it with Aspen release and planning to finish it with a Banff time frame, as you see on the screen. In parallel, and that's what our customers expect from us, from the provider of P&C platform they trust to engage, innovate, and of course, grow efficiently. They have to keep on our innovative work to empower our customers. And our framework, our digital framework, gives us the full power to do so. The main areas of innovation for us, just to name a few. For example, we plan to build, and actually already doing it, more granular, function-oriented micro apps using the framework. Like, for example, quote and buy micro app or first notice of loss micro app. Those apps should be easily embeddable into, for example, an enterprise portal like Salesforce, or any of the Engage products like Producer Engage and Customer Engage. Future releases will also allow customers to embed them into other third-party portals and affinity channels. Another interesting topic we are now working on is the business analyst friendly editor, which allows us to build and configure those micro apps. So our vision is to provide codeless configuration or low-code configuration tools that business analysts can use to build and configure those micro apps and minimize the need for the expert web developers. And of course, support for different types of the transactions, simple and complex lines of business, whether it's only one or maybe hundreds of risk objects. So I would say the future looks extremely promising. Vijay, over to you. What do you think?
Wow. Thanks, Dimitri. That's like I said, it's super exciting. Right? Just a reminder, viewers, the Q&A panel is down. I can see some questions trickling in specifically for Dimitri in this case. But if you have any more, please do go away and ask away. And then we'll pick them up, as and when you guys ask. Next up, I'm going to bring in Kevin. Kevin Foley is from Admiral. Admiral have been synonymous with a great brand that's delivered a fantastic customer experience to their customers. Kevin, you've been part of Admiral and over the years been part of this, been part of this journey of delivering this fantastic experience to your end customers. Admiral extensively uses Guidewire, so it would be great to hear some of your experience with the digital product suite and how it has helped, digital journeys and setting them up. Coming from someone who's participated in some of those in the recent past, I think it will be useful if you could also, elaborate on some of the learnings from these programs that you can share with everyone.
Yeah, certainly can. Thanks, Vijay, and thanks, Karen, for inviting me to this panel. And thanks, Dimitri. It's exciting to see the future of where the product is going. And I'm sure those new features will help us accelerate changes to our customers. So a little bit about me. So as Vijay said, I've been with Admiral for a while. I've been with them for 18 years, actually, which is a long time. And I've seen lots of changes. At the moment, I look after the digital tribes. They are the online customer portal, and I also look after the online sales team. So a little bit about Admiral, just to give you an indication of what we do. So we started trading in 1993. We're based in Cardiff. We're a global player, if you like. We're in Spain, France, Italy, India, US, Canada, and Mexico. So we kind of get around a little bit. It's an interesting fact. In 2000, we launched the first ever online quote and buy system. So we're very much in front of what digital means to the customer. In 2003, we started a transformation really to allow us to get to the state that we're in now, and Guidewire play a big part of that. So some of the main products that our customers can deal with online are Bell, Diamond, Admiral, and Elephant. And on there, we've got car, van, and households. So you can do quite a lot. So the portal, we've had an online presence for the portal. I think it's just over 10 years, and it keeps growing every year. We already know the customer likes to do changes online and what they can do and the experiences that they can get. We used to have forms online, so you could just fill a form in, and allowing make a change to the customer to make changes online is quite powerful. We introduced that a couple of months ago, and without even offering the service, people were already starting using it without us even telling them they were there. So that just shows the customer is looking for this kind of information online. We were already driving the customer to do changes online, and we were thinking about how to get to that. And COVID has made that accelerated extremely faster. We tenfold really. We went through the roof, I guess. The journey and the readiness tab that Karen talked about earlier on, I think we probably at the digital transformation bit. We've kind of are accelerating to that end, and Guidewire has definitely helped us to achieve that goal. Some of our products, I guess, we use single car, multi-car, and multi-product, so that's house and car online. Some of the things that the portal are what we've allowed and the Guidewire portal has allowed us to do. So you can see the customer details online, you can see the account details, you can see documents, we offer F&Q. And one of the most important things I think that Guidewire offers is the make a change. So for us, the customer now can go online midterm and at renewal, make changes to addresses, cover of the policy, add a driver, add a temporary driver, remove a driver, edit a driver, change a vehicle, change the registration numbers. What allows you to do is customers can go all the way through to a quote, so they can see the price, they can see what it is that they can do online, and they can either accept it online and then do the change automatically, so there's no interaction with anybody, and they get all the documents online straight away. They can view everything, so it's instantaneously, they get it all. They can maybe ask them questions if they wanted to on our web chat or via email, or of course they can use the old method of phoning in, really. They can also do some payment updates, and we started doing a claim service. So some stats, which is quite powerful. So month of June, we had new registrations of 91,000 people registered in June. That is 40% increase from April. So it just shows what COVID did and how the acceleration is going. Login portal, on an average month, we have 795,000 people logging into a portal. Make a change, and this is a bit that's quite powerful and where we see most of the benefits going. So 366,000 customers start to make a process. We have 154 of those quoting, so getting through to get the price and understand what it means to make the change. We have 63,000 of those that will actually complete the change without phoning and do it online, so it's all online and nothing else. And there's a couple of blocks in there that make people call us and the likes, which we're working through. One of the benefits we're looking at is, and what Dimitri talked about earlier on, we are definitely doing an upgrade into Guidewire Digital 11. We can see some of the benefits that that's going to give us. We are looking at that, and we're going to start some implementation in September. So that's quite exciting times for us. So go to the next page, please. So some implementation challenges and learnings. I could probably go on for a long time on this, so I picked out a couple, I guess. So introducing a new portal. So we introduced a portal to our Ford customers. We introduced that really quickly because of the benefit and the templates that Guidewire offers. Really easy. I think if that wasn't in place, it would be a lot more difficult for us to do. When we introduced Guidewire originally, because we'd already had an online presence, it was really difficult. And the reason why is because we already had the presence, and therefore we were trying to make Guidewire bend, if you like, into the stuff that we'd had before. So there were some difficult conversations. Some of the other benefits, we didn't really see the make a change benefit, which is where the main thing that we get out of the Guidewire portal, because it's so, it's one of the things that we looked at. We didn't really see that in the beginning because we had to reproduce what the portal looked like before. So make a change became kind of second nature to us. So we didn't really see the benefits. Now we see the benefits and the power that it gives to the customer, which is what it's all about. And make a change was a big part of that. And that's where we see the biggest claims now. And a lot of that interaction is out of the box of Guidewire and the framework that they offer. And it does allow us to be that. We still have to do some tweaks, same as anything else, but it's really powerful. One of the drawbacks we see right now, because of the versions that we're on, is that whenever we want to do a Guidewire sort of a change, not the front end change, but the middle tier, what we call middle tier, those changes are difficult because we have to take the Guidewire stack down, and therefore it takes a little bit. It's not as easy and intuitive as we'd like it to be. And we know a Guidewire 11 goes a little way towards that, but I think we still got some ways to go. And I think there's what else I got? I think that's it. So back to you.
Yes. Thanks, Kevin. I'm sure these learnings will stand in good stead for everyone who's planning future implementations. As for the viewers, as with Dimitri, if you want to ask any questions of Kevin, please do feel free. There's some great questions being asked and also being answered. So I can't wait for the Q&A when I can pick some of those and fire them away. Keep them coming, everyone, and then we'll answer as many as we can until the top of the hour. Madhur, I am going to bring you in next very quickly before we start with the audience questions. See, you and Hexaware have been partners to both insurers and Guidewire, right? So you've been helping customers implement Guidewire and also been partnering with Guidewire Digital for a while now. What's the typical run book that kind of takes into account all the learnings that Kevin just spoke about, all the aspects of building a digital vision that Dimitri just touched upon? What's the run book that you bring along that takes into consideration all of these points, your specific understanding of the product, given your involvement in Utro's development for the last year, and also the experience of delivering Guidewire programs globally?
Yeah, thanks, Vijay, for bringing me in, and thanks, Karen, for inviting me to the panel. Like Vijay said, I think we in Hexaware have been involved with Guidewire in developing the new Digital 11 portal, which is basically rewriting the current or the earlier enterprise engage portal and rewriting it from Angular to React. And with that, I think we have gained significant experience and have also started working with insurers like Admiral to help them upgrade, and with other insurers to help them implement the new digital 11 portal. And I believe that some of the challenges that Kevin spoke about are very, very relevant, and some of the key considerations that I will talk about now, which insurers should keep in mind to help them mitigate some of those challenges. The first one I would want to discuss is the implementation pattern. Some of us who are associated with Guidewire Digital Portal understand that there are 4 patterns in which it can be implemented, right? And one needs to be very cognizant of in selecting the pattern that they want to go with. And as we all know that it has to be done based on the business objective, which are very simple in that sense, right? If you want to stick to out of the box journey, go with pattern 1. However, if you want to continue using the UI framework, the Jutro framework that Dimitri spoke about, however, you still want to customize some of those journeys, you can go with pattern 2. While the extreme is that you may just want to use the backend edge services from the Digital 11 portal, while you want to do a heavy branding of your own, customize all the journeys to a great extent so that the customer experience can be great. Then you go with pattern 4, right? And each one has its pros and cons in terms of time to implement, time to market. And in all the 4 patterns, right, the customization is inevitable. However, if one is cognizant of the fact that the amount of deviation that they do from out of the box, obviously the time to implement will be more, and obviously future upgrades will also be cumbersome. So in every pattern except for pattern 4, obviously, where everything will change, but in pattern 1 and 2, the customization should be minimal. Similarly, on the integration side, I think Dimitri spoke about availability of edge services, and with the Aspen release, availability of REST APIs, at least for cloud customers. Those are obviously available, and then he also talked about the APD framework, which will help build the APIs on the flow, right? However, again, these the out-of-the-box edge services will need customization, and there's time and energy that needs to be spent on that. So based on the amount of functionality that you customize, you will also have to customize the edge services at the back end. I think the third point that is very, very important is how do you ensure quality and how do you ensure the release velocity, right? So what we have seen is that for at least for digital, there is no pre-built test content or test automation content that is available. So one needs to look into how do you build that test automation suite, or use pre-built test automation suite from a service provider. One should also look at integrating or building the DevOps pipeline for digital so that the release velocity increases, right? And the test automation suite that is developed needs to be integrated with DevOps so that you don't end up doing all of the coding and then wait for regression testing to get over before the product is released, right? So these were some of the points from new implementation perspective, and I'll take a few minutes to talk about upgrade, because a lot of customers who are using Enterprise Engage will now need to upgrade immediately, right? So there are a couple of strategies that one can take in upgrade, right, based on the pattern which the portal is implemented, right? Customers who are on pattern 1, 2, and 3 will, or on 1 and 2 probably will need both front end and back end upgrade, while the ones who are on 4 will only need back end upgrade because they have a custom front end. We have also been hearing from customers queries like, okay, our quote and buy is available, right? And the quote and buy is now available with the Aspen release also, but account management portal will get released, say, in November as a part of Banff release. So if you want to do upgrade now, how will the new Digital 11 portal work with the earlier account management portal that they already have, right? So that needs to be also considered while deciding the strategy to upgrade, whether there will be two links that the customer will use, one for Digital 11 and one for Enterprise Engage, or there is a way to embed Digital 11 within Enterprise Engage, so that from a user experience perspective and the end customer perspective, they are accessing just one link. However, they are able to manage both the functionalities of Port Envy in Digital 11 and account management portal in Enterprise Engage. So that needs to be thought over before deciding on the upgrade strategy. From a complexity of upgrade perspective, I think there is no one-click upgrade solution that is available, because there is a complete change in technology, at least for the front end. The new one, like Dimitri explained, is built on Jutro framework. I think Dimitri also spoke about the coding best practices that needs to be followed, right? For example, metadata-driven approach that we talked about for UI development, rather than following the JSX configuration, and validations being built more in the backend rather than in the front end. In Hexaware, what we have done based on our learnings and experience of working with Guidewire on Jutro development, we have built a digit tool which can help in faster upgrade from Enterprise Engage to Digital 11.1, and that can be used by insurance companies to bring in some automation in the upgrade process. Those are some of the points, Vijay, that I wanted to cover, and these are obviously based on some of the work that we are doing with insurers like Admiral.
All right. Thanks, Madhur. Just before I pick, there's some good questions coming. Keep firing them away. I'm going to pick one up right after my last question to you. How are some of these solutions that you just spoke about? How exactly are these beneficial? Can you just touch upon that, and then we'll probably very quickly dive into the questions then.
Sure. Yeah. So like I was saying that we have built a tool which we call, right? It basically has multiple components across the life cycle of the upgrade process, and these components basically reduce the risk by bringing in automation in the process, and obviously because of automation, the release velocity of go-to-market is reduced. The first very important one is the code compare tool that we have developed. In a nutshell, what it does is that it compares the code of the out-of-the-box Enterprise Engage portal with the customer version of the Enterprise Engage, and tries to identify all the customizations that have been done to the Enterprise Engage at a line of business level, at a capability level, and some of the backend customizations in terms of branding, localizations, right? And it not only does at a file level, but it can go at the code level and identify the changes that have been done at the line of code level. At the end, it produces a very detailed report for all the at a summary level of all these changes that have been done, and also at the code level, right? And this basically helps our developers to basically understand and analyze the complexity of the upgrade for all these various components, right? And it also then helps them do a firm estimate, right? And with the tool, what we have seen is that the assessment process can be completed within days rather than within weeks, because otherwise, without the tool, you have to sit and go scroll through the code and make notes and do the code analysis manually, right? So that's one very important piece. The second bit that I would want to cover is the test automation piece, right? There again, we have built a test automation suite, both for model-based testing approach, and I think BDD approach is gaining a lot of traction these days, and we are seeing that a lot of insurers are adopting to BDD approach. So what we have done is that we have pre-built models for the Digital 11.1 portal, and also ready to use feature files for insurers who want to go with BDD approach. And the automation that we have done is not only for models, which generates the test design automatically, but then we use Confirmate tool and have integrated it with the test execution automation tools like Selenium, so that the automation scripts can be produced automatically, and then those scripts can be again executed automatically. I think there are few others which are there on the slide, which are custom components for new LOBs which are not available in out of the box, and a pre-built repository of edge services which are on top of the ones that are available in out of the box. We call that solution as a API Connect solution. So there is that repository is also available. I won't go into details of the other two just for want of time. But yeah, we believe that Digit is helping the insurance companies such as Admiral to lower the upgrade risk by bringing in automation across the life cycle of the upgrade process. That's it, Vijay.
Thanks, Madhur. Thanks, Madhur. Thanks. That was quite insightful. I think we should dive into the questions. There are quite a few questions that are coming in. I'm going to fire the first one away to Kevin. Right. So, Kevin, how does an insurer start planning for an upgrade? What's the upgrade strategy like, and how do you prepare?
I don't think we've got enough time to go through it all, but I guess where do we start? I think the way that we looked at the upgrade was twofold, really. One is where the product was going and the benefits that we could get out of it. We're on, I wouldn't say it's an old product, but next year one of the parts of the product that we're using becomes end of life. So that kind of forced our hand a little bit, if you like, to do it. So that was one of it. And we sat down as a development team, really, and tried to figure out our best approach. And we had numerous meetings with the business on how to do that. There's another question on here, I think, around the business stop working, which is right. I mean, the business don't want to stop. They can see now how much benefit that we're giving to the customer online, and they don't want to stop change. They want to keep the change going. So we looked at how we could do that, and without us hurting the business and the likes, we decided to go for a third party. So we looked at how we could do that and how we could have a third party come and help us do the upgrade and work collaboratively with us. And that is obviously Hexaware. So we're using Hexaware as part of that, which I think is a lovely relationship that we've got. And right now we're on track with everything that we said we were going to do. It looks really exciting. But yeah. So we'll see how it goes. We're hoping to start that well, I think it's Sprint Zero as part of it will be in the beginning of September.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you so much. The next, I'll go to Madhur. Madhur, there's a question that's coming in around how do you kind of, assuming that someone wants to have as close to possible out of the box implementation, what's the sort of effort and challenges that we faced? And correspondingly with that also is around Digit. What are the additional LOBs that are supported by Digit that are not out of the box with Guidewire?
Yeah. So I think if one wants to go with out of the box, which is pattern one, right? Obviously, the amount of effort that will be involved in implementation will be minimal. The effort obviously varies based on the line of business, based on number of lines that you need to implement. But and obviously the number of engaged portals that you want to implement. But I would say that if one wants to go with just one portal out of the box, say customer engage, right? The effort would be say close to say 8 to 10 weeks or 8 to 12 weeks. So that's I think that the first part of the question that you answered, right? And as far as Digit goes, right? The four components that I talked about for Digit, right? So the first one that I talked about was the code compare tool. So that obviously does the code comparison at LOB level, and it can do for any line of business. So obviously lines of business that are not available out of the box. So it will identify all the code for the new line of business. The test automation suite that I spoke about, we have have built for some specialty lines of business and commercial lines of commercial lines which are not available in out of the box portal. And same for custom component, right? For example, WC7 is available out of the box, but standalone WC is not there. So we have identified functionalities not only for new lines of business which are not available, but even for new functionalities which are not part of the out of the box, but may be required for customers to be able to enable self-service for customers, right? So Digit is available both for new lines of business and for functionalities which are not available in out of the box, right? From a custom component perspective and from a test automation suite perspective, while the code compare tool doesn't matter, right?
All right. Thank you, Madhur. That was a fairly elaborate answer. I hope that answered whatever we were looking for in terms of the poster. Quick question to Dimitri. Dimitri, there are a set of questions around the REST API development in Guidewire. And can you throw some light on that? There are questions that are coming in on, will edge services be replaced with REST, or will both coexist?
So yeah, as you said, the question about the availability of REST APIs, because they are now available as of Aspen release in Insurance Suite. And so the question, as usual, whether they will be replacing the Edge APIs as part of the digital, or they will coexist. So yeah, indeed, we are starting to provide new so-called system REST APIs starting from Aspen release. And on our side, our Edge APIs, JSON RPC, have quite a long history, and we still think that for many insurance transactions, they fit the purpose better. So looking broader, not only from the point of view of our digital applications, they have to support both on the framework level. And that's what Utro does. It supports both transports, whether it is REST or JSON RPC. That's why this framework is and will be used in many other areas, for example, in Guidewire, not only for the digital. And talking about digital and future development, like the new future development for the micro apps, which right now it's more cloud oriented, we are aiming to use new REST APIs. For the digital applications and existing digital applications we are going to support for the long term, Edge APIs is the main direction. We are fully committed to continue developing and fully supporting it for the long term. So yeah, they will coexist.
Thank you. Thanks, Dimitri. Madhur, I'm going to ask you a question around testing, because there are a few questions around that. What should be the testing strategy since digital comes with unit scripts in Jest? Is there a similar framework available for functional testing?
Right. So like I was saying, right, so testing approach will obviously follow the development approach that one is taking, right? So if one is going with a BDD way of development, which is a behavior-driven design, then obviously feature files will come from the business analyst, and then feature files can be used for testing purpose itself. From an automation perspective, what can be done and what we have done is that we have taken out of the box feature files and then converted those into execution scripts, right? And those scripts can be run in any execution tool like maybe a Selenium. So that's on the BDD side. Then there is a model-based testing approach, right, where you can have out of the box models in any modeling tool, and those models can be used to generate test design, so that the test design automation can be achieved. And then that test design can then be converted again through some kind of a adapter between the model-based testing tool and say a test execution tool like Selenium or HP, so that execution scripts can be generated automatically and can be executed automatically. So that will help insurers achieve the entire automation from test design to execution. And I think saying that unit test scripts are available as a part of Digital 11. So that effort obviously can be minimized from a unit testing perspective.
Okay.
I think I have also probably Dimitri can confirm, but there might be an availability of functional test automation in Test Cafe, but I will let Dimitri confirm that whether it will be available with 11.1 as part of Aspen release, or will it be later, or if there is any other strategy around that.
Yeah, just to confirm, yes, you're absolutely right. So internally for the Utro development and for digital development, we are doing both. We are doing the unit tests using Jest and using Test Cafe for the functional end-to-end testing. So our customers and our partners can benefit from the same approach. So as far as I know, we have even some couple of the samples delivered with one of those releases where you can see how, for example, Test Cafe can be used for the end-to-end.
Right. Thank you, Dimitri. Thanks, Madhur. Dimitri, just stay on because I'm going to ask you another question. You spoke a lot about Jutro. Can you build applications other than digital with Jutro?
Yes, of course you can. I'm not going to talk about the licensing and so on, but that's what we are doing internally in Guidewire as well. So Utro is our framework not only for the digital. We are using it in other areas and going to expand its usage maybe even more. Like I know, for example, that our teams in content layer, like teams who are responsible for delivering content for the Spanish, German, French market, they are using Utro to deliver the user experience. And we expect it to be used even broader for other transactions and for other products. So yes, you can. And it is our internal framework for us. And depending on the licensing limitation, I think you can also use it for the development standalone apps.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Dimitri. Kevin, one more question. I think somebody from the audience would like you to elaborate a little more on, the deployment with the core Guidewire application. How do you kind of work that? I think you mentioned a bit around challenges and learnings around the deployment challenges and the learnings around that. Would you want to reiterate that or elaborate that a little more? Did you face that because of the edge services that are bundled within the insurance core, or the edge services can't be deployed separately? What were you suggesting then?
Yeah. Yes. My understanding of it is, and I'm not as technical as other guys that are on here, but the way that the edge code works, it sits on the version that we're on and the Guidewire backend version that we're on. They sit together. So if you do what we class as a make a change, which is a fundamental call to Guidewire, if you like, when that gets compiled, it gets compiled within Edge, which then gets compiled within the core application. So you have to deploy the core application. You can't just deploy the Edge or the front end. The front end can be deployed in its own, but as soon as you do what we call a middle change, which is the Edge framework. Once you do a change in it, it gets bundled with Guidewire. Once it's bundled with Guidewire, it becomes, we have to take the stack down, we have to do all the backups and the rest, and it becomes quite painful. So it takes away a bit of flexibility for how we do our deployments. We'd like to be a little bit more freedom of that, if you like. So that's what it is really. So it does entangle it somewhat.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Madhur, one more question to you. I think we've got time for a couple more. What's a typical timeline like for a portal implementation from an implementation perspective for a new portal?
Yeah, like I said earlier, right? So the timeline obviously is dependent upon the number of portals that are to be implemented and the number of lines of business for which it has to be implemented. But if I take an example of, say, a customer engage portal for maybe 1 or 2 lines of business which are available out of the box, like personal, auto, and home, it would be like a 3 to 4 week kind of an inception period, right? And before that, obviously, there will be some preparation for inception, like a pre-inception. And maybe a 10 to 12 weeks of development, right? right? Followed by probably 4 weeks of inception. And yeah, so that would be the timeline. And obviously after stabilization, it goes into for deployment and post-production support. So I would say a timeline, overall timeline, including pre-inception, inception, stabilization, would be say 16 to 20 weeks, kind of a timeline for 2 lines of business which are available out of the box, say personal auto and home, and for one of the engage portals, say customer engage.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Madhur. I think I'm going to ask Dimitri the next question on. I think the next question would be to Dimitri around. You did speak about. Oh, I think that's me. I think you did answer that question. I was going to ask you the same question around.
Which one?
The picking up products other than digital. I think you've just.
I was marked one of those questions regarding the Utro, as I would prefer to answer it. I have not typed the answer in the chat. So that's my next. If you want me to answer it, I would prefer to answer this one.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's about the Utro framework and and what is Utro as such, because I had no time, and unfortunately we don't have time right now. Usually I will spend maybe 5-6 hours just to explain what is it. But let me give you a short summary, because I think it's very interesting and it's one of the main priorities for us, main of the areas of the innovation for Guidewire. So Guidewire Utro is a React-based metadata-driven framework which enables developers and UX designers to convert application metadata into the screens and deploy digital applications in minutes. That's the most important aspect of the Utro. It's a metadata-driven. That's why for the development purpose, you are not starting just running and typing the code and so on. You can get this metadata. Where you can get this metadata, it's a different question. So with our advanced product design approach, we can generate metadata out of the product model. And using the metadata, we can build quickly the user experience. Right now, it is available for the quote and buy. So our standard template for the quote and buy using the metadata out of the product model will give you the user experience on the digital channel automatically in a matter of minutes. Of course, it needs to be tweaked later on. You decide you want to different color schemes, different placement of the dialogues and so on. That's normal. But just to create a prototype, it takes you a couple of minutes. That's it. So that's the Utro, and because of Utro, we are having these capabilities, and we are going to use it for the micro apps later on. Micro apps, which will be available on the cloud as a first step, will be automatically generated out of the metadata as well.
Sure. Thanks. I think that's all the time that we have. We're almost at the top of the hour. Thank you so much, everyone, for participating. We'll send our responses for those we haven't picked up so far. Do feel free to reach us offline should you have any clarifications. We'll be happy to discuss. Many thanks for all your support and being online. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Vijay. A very fascinating panel discussion. I think a lot of great insights. Please let us know if you're interested in learning more about the Guidewire Digital Upgrade by responding to the poll. I'll just do a really quick wrap up here. I think, what became clear in the dialogue in both the presentations and in the panel discussion questions is, I think we've got to think about the digital visioning. What is it you really want to accomplish? There are some fabulous tools that are being reimagined and brought to market. And I think, the examples that we've talked about today with Guidewire and their new digital capabilities using Dutro, and Hexaware with their ability to assist insurers in getting through that process to come out the other side, gives real promise to insurers as they consider. My last one is you've got to activate. You've got to think about where you are today, what that technology looks like, what the capabilities are, and then how do you become future focused? And how do you start along this path? And it looks like there certainly is some really great technology and SI partners who can help you on that journey. I think let's wrap with the poll, and we'll move to the next slide. Great. And so for any feedback, please, we're going to have a poll at the end of today. We'd love for you to just take a minute, just give us some feedback on that. You know, you'll also receive the link when you receive the recording. Love your feedback then, or directly to any of us as you're in conversation. We'd love to hear what your feedback is. At this point, I'll turn it over to Hugh to bring us to the end of the webinar.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I think we're up against the hour, so I'm just going to take 1 or 2 minutes more of your time, if that's okay. There's a beautiful looking booth here where there's lots of information on Hexaware and its products and services. You will receive that in the follow-up pack that you'll get by email. You'll see that link also in the chat, so if you want to have a quick look at that, there's some more information you can get as well. If we go to the next slide, contact information is here. It will be in the recording as well for all of the speakers and panelists today. So please just reach out to them directly as well. And then, as I said earlier, this has been part of the Insights to Solutions series, and there's a second series coming up. We've just announced this, so we're going to be doing some more around commercial underwriting, commercial distribution, and claims adjusting in the fall as well. So look out for those. And I guess just as a final wrap, just really to thank you for your time today. Thanks for attending. I hope you found it really, really useful. Do remember to give us that feedback. It is super valuable to us as well. And really just please stay safe, stay in touch. Let us know how your journey on digital transformation is progressing, both for the Guidewire portal as well as more generally. So enjoy the rest of your day.